Hey everyone, welcome to the Homestead Kitchen. I'm Sarah and today I am going to be making bone broth. There are lots of ways to make bone broth. You can boil it on your stove, you can cook it uncovered in a crock pot, but I'm going to be using my Instapot because frankly, it's the quickest and the easiest. We make our bone broth for the collagen effects, which is good for your skin and your gut and just overall health. The first thing you're going to need for your bone broth is bones. I'm using some chicken bones I had in the freezer today, but you can use just about any type of meat bone that you want. Anything other than chicken bones, you might want to cook a little bit longer just to get that full kind of jelly effect. Sometimes what I will do is I will go ahead and cook a whole chicken in my Instapot, take the bones off and just close it back up and make my bone broth right then. And then there's other times where I just am not going to do that. So what I do is I take the bones, I throw them in bags and I throw them in the freezer. And then when I have time, I go ahead and I make some bone broth. And I try really hard not to make this complicated. There's lots of recipes out there where you can add this many carrots and this much celery. And here's the thing, I don't cook like that. I'm not gonna make bone broth like that. It's just not how I work. So whatever I've got for bones, I'm gonna put in here and I'm going to make sure that I have enough water to cover my bones without going over the max Instapot line. Once I've got my chicken in the water, I go ahead and add whatever I want for my broth. What I do is I go ahead and I save all of my ends of my veggies from my garden. I've been trying to just make sure to save those rather than putting them in the compost. So things like my onion peels and carrot tops and just kind of small things like that, and throw them in a bag, throw them in the freezer, or throw them in a container, throw them in the freezer, and that's what I'm putting in here. I don't use any other veggies usually that I have in the fridge unless they're about to go bad and I want to use them up, or if they're in the garden and I just have too much of them. But I season this how I would season anything else, what I think is going to taste good. So if I have some extra garlic, I might throw that in. If I've got some bay leaves laying around, I might throw that in. Got some veggie tops. These are straight out of the freezer, so these still frozen solid. And all it's gonna do is take longer for my Instapot to get up to heat, so it's just fine. I really don't think it matters what you add. The collagen formation is the most important part. That's why we're doing it. And it tastes good. It's really nice to add it to soups, hot dishes I like to add it to, or anything with rice or pasta. I know a lot of people drink it plain, but I never have, but I'm sure I would if I was sick or something. This would be delicious. I'm gonna add a few seasonings just because I can. As with most things, the higher quality ingredients you use, the better quality result you're going to get. So if you can get, I don't know if there's such thing as a grass-fed chicken, fully grass-fed, but if you can get better quality chicken meat, of course this is going to be better quality. But again, I don't know about you, but in my life, if I strive always for that perfection, I tend to fail at just doing something for the better. So always something for the better. If I don't have veggie scraps, I do this without. So I'm gonna turn on mine. Mine is high pressure for 2 hours. And we'll come back as soon as it's done. So my Instapot is done. Actually, it's been done for 5 minutes. So I click cancel. So I just let it come down to pressure naturally. So now that it's finally done, I can open it up. Tell this has been going for a while. It's already dark outside. So I'm gonna take this and I am just going to strain it into another pot, just using a pasta strainer. crazy, a whole pot full. I like to let this cool a little bit just so it's not such a shock to my glass jars. But since I don't want it to just get all hard in there, I'll sometimes just run hot water in my jars to help too after it's cooled down at least a little while. I like to freeze my bone broth. I know a lot of people don't like to put jars in their freezer, and if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can freeze them in ice cube trays or little containers and then put them in a jar. So as I'm filling up my jars, I will use any jar. The wide mouth are awesome. Wide mouth pints are awesome because they don't have any lips or I have to worry about them breaking in the freezer. If I'm filling any other size jar, I just leave a little extra room before that little hip. I don't know what you want to call it, but hip is what I'm calling it. And I do something else that's kind of silly just in case it were to break, so I'll show you that in a second. If you want to, you could certainly strain this again. I always leave a little bit of room at the top for it to expand when it's in the freezer. And you can keep this in your fridge for a couple days as well. And there are people who can their bone broth. I'm just not comfortable at this point doing that. I love to use these plastic lids. And there's a lot of items that come with regular mouth plastic lids. Some mayonnaise containers come with them. And I think I got this one off of a dip container. So I just save those whenever I have them. Otherwise, you can also buy them on Amazon. I can leave a link down below. So once it's cooled down to at least room temp, I'll put it in my freezer. And what I like to do is just put a grocery bag in my basket just in case if my jars were to crack. That way at least my mess will be contained in this bag and I can just pick it up and take care of it. I have yet to have a jar break in the freezer. In fact, they do really well. Definitely expand a little bit, so make sure you leave that room in there. I'll take them out and pop them in the fridge a day before I am ready to make something with them, and then they're ready to go. And it's a nice way to add kind of that chicken flavor to my dishes, and knowing I'm getting some extra benefits is great too. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe down below. Glad you got to see me again. Bye!